We really need to have specifics. We really need to have specifics regarding any kind of legislation we pass along the way, whether it's this or anything else. I think the opportunity is interesting. I think, certainly we have many aspects of downtown that we could use some assistance with. Can it be for operations? Is it for brick and mortar? Is it for programming? And also the second one, the May green, you're saying it's strictly for Berks. Does Berks then disseminate the money to the municipalities through
No.
that? I'm a little confused about
No.
the
So there's two. There's the LSA statewide. First of all, the eligibility, it's for bricks and mortar or equipment, generally speaking. So the equipment could be anything from vehicles to police bikes to camera systems or physical projects, capital needs. The second program will be exclusively for Berks County. It'll be run similarly through the Commonwealth Financing Authority. And those regulations or guidelines will be likely approved by the Commonwealth Authority Board this month, and then they will open it in the coming months. We're not sure exactly that could slide by a month or two, but that is also on the horizon. So that's, I think, why the senator mentioned that's another opportunity. Even if you do put one in now, you can go back for another application, different month. So.
And Donna, to your question, it cannot be used for staff. There's some administrative functions that could be paid for, but you couldn't hire new staff under this funding. And one more thing, while I'm speaking here, there is a sample resolution in the packet. So, and it does, in that sample, you'll see this, the focus of the project has to be in that resolution. So you're absolutely right. You got to know what you're voting on, what's the project, and make a decision on that before you go any further. But we wanted to make you aware of it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and if I may, Council President, precisely, we won't have asked or submitted something without confirming with council if it's something that they would approve. Obviously, again, this was a time of time management. We will definitely submit to council. However, I just didn't want for the opportunity to pass by us by debating for a month whether this will be appropriate or not. So that's why it was so important that the senator and Mr. Gumbar acknowledge, and you guys heard directly from them. But yeah, you would definitely be brought to your attention, and any details and questions that need to be answered. However, because there are two different opportunities, and even though Mr. Gumbar said, well, Eddie, if you guys can't make it by the 15th, it's okay because we have an opportunity. Well, there's no reason why we should not capitalize on the city of need to both opportunities. So that's why the sense of urgency to explain, not necessarily to accept that they will be voting on something that they don't, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. Yep. Bree, I see your hand up.
Thank you.
Just do me a favor, if you can use the chat next time, that's fine, but I could see you, no problem. So that was fine. Go ahead, Bree.
Okay. My question, thank you. Okay. My question, well, first I want to say thank you so much, Senator Schwenk and Tom Gomar, for bringing this opportunity to City Council. From what you guys have from what you guys have discussed, it sounds like you have done a lot of research on this particular subject. I know that I would be interested in seeing more. I think there's a sample mentioned. If we could have that sample brought to City Council for us to look over and review, and of course have this tabled for maybe another time. Say another time.
Well, just to recap it, Bree, because of at least for this first tranche, we have to pass a resolution next Monday. That's pretty quick. I agree with you. But the mayor's promised us to dig into what projects would qualify and perhaps get us some information out, maybe even by Wednesday or Thursday. I don't want to speak for them, but as quickly as possible so that you, I, and the rest of the body by next Monday, I've had a chance to kick it around a little bit. And then if we need to do a resolution, if we agree to it next Monday, that will do that. And then they're telling us too, there'll be a separate opportunity as well, which will give us some more time. I'm not, what was that timeline? July, did I hear?
May.
Yeah, probably Mayish.
Mayish,
With
which is
with the
like-
6-week window.
Yeah, that's like eternity compared to next week, but we can do it in a week. It's not the it's not the preferable way, but we'll deal with what we got and we'll, one thing for Bree and West, I do want to make sure they're clear on what the project would be so that when we vote on a resolution that, that we don't normally do things under a short window, but sometimes we have to
Right.
take advantage of them. So it's a good point, Bree. Anything else, Bree?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. All right, anybody else with a comment? I don't see anybody in the chat queue. I'm trying to get us in this chat queue format. All right, if not, Judy, just a brief opportunity for you. Thank you for being here with us. Anything you
Sure.
wanted to touch base with us on while we have you? We're rolling along.
Sure. So we're in the middle of budget hearings. I know they're doing them over in the House and they're happening as well in the Senate. So I think you'll be reading some things about that most certainly, and redistricting, of course. And what we're thinking in terms of what the districts will be for the state legislative districts, it's likely, today was the deadline for the the period for people to protest the maps that were submitted. And we have an understanding that the court is going to turn it around relatively quickly. The newest timeline that I've heard is that we ought to know by maybe the 15th or 16th, with the possibility of petitions being circulated the 18th or maybe even a day or two earlier. The question will be, are we going to only have 9 days to circulate petitions, which isn't an awful lot of time. Those of us that have done that before know what a headache that can present itself to be. It's a good opportunity to meet with constituents too. So stay tuned on that. There is a challenge as well at the Supreme Court in terms of the congressional districts. But as you know, people have gone ahead and started to circulate petitions there. I highly doubt that anything is going to happen, that's going to move forward. It's just the state ones. And I don't know if there's going to be significant changes in what was presented.
Okay.
It's just
All
a
right.
quick update on what's happening in Harrisburg.
Okay, well, thank you, Judy. We have a busy agenda, but we appreciate the update. As you go through
You bet.
if there are any half penny issues, remember the Reading City Council Pizza Fund. In case if you need a placeholder for the half pennies or whatever in the state budget. But we
Sounds good. I'll bring it up at a budget hearing.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't mention my name or we're in trouble, but thank you so much, Judy. And,
Take care, guys. Thank you
thank
for
you.
letting us visit.
Thank you so much. Okay, take care.
Um,
All right, Mayor, thank you as well for bringing that forward this evening. We're going to, we have a busy agenda. We've got members of the Parking Authority and the director here. We have an ordinance on the table scheduled for next week. I wanted to make sure they had some time to speak to that ordinance. I did have an opportunity to meet with the mayor and Johanny and some of the board members and Nathan and even the Civic Center board to talk a little bit about the garage rates during events. They made a lot of progress in a short time. I'm hoping we'll regroup in maybe another month or two as well to follow up on that. I don't know if Nathan or Tim wants to give an update on that, but I haven't really gone through all the parking fines. We can review them quickly as well. But I want to make sure we get through this ordinance and what the Parking Authority thinks makes sense and where we come to agreement so that we're all on the same page next week. So let me turn it over to Tim or Nathan. I'm not sure who's taking the lead. But as we get to the end of their discussion, council members just put in the chat that you would like to ask a question or make a comment. So Nathan or Tim, the floor is yours.
Tim, do you want to go first?
Where's Tim? All right, Nathan, lead the way, then Tim will.
So if you want me to start talking about the two ordinances, is that what you want me to do?
Yeah,
Can you guys hear me?
yeah, go ahead, Tim.
I say sorry. I just like I wanted to say I'll talk about anything you guys want to talk about. If you want to go through the stuff you have listed, or if there's specific questions, if we want to start there, I mean, we're here on your invite, so
Yeah,
I'm
Tim, do
happy
me
to
a
talk about
favor.
whatever the council.
Just kind of recap what we did on the rates the other day, and I don't want to get too stuck on that because we really need to,
Sure.
at this point, to get through the ordinances, and then when you get to the ordinances, let Nathan speak to them, and
Yep,
let's-
sure. I'm on a slightly short time frame. I was expected to be on from 5 to 5:30, so I'm gonna stay on as long as I possibly can. I have another commitment. So I believe we had a very fruitful conversation with the Convention Center Authority and talking through some stuff. And I think the most glaring thing is the rate structure, where there should have been a third option, not just Royals, main event. There should be something for maybe community event, and they were right. I mean, when we try to standardize rates, we try to get away from arbitrary things where we weren't talking about each individual person. Each individual person was coming to us asking for a rate concession, or can you give me this rate? What's rate can be for this event? We tried to standardize rates as best we could based on our capital needs, our structures, our ongoing parking crisis in the city. We want to create some spaces around the city to alleviate that parking issue. Something I committed to the mayor when I got on the board is, I don't want to be here just spinning my wheels, enforcing things that don't make any sense. So we're funding a capital project to bring residential parking to every part of the city we possibly can. So that's how we set our rates, and I thought it was when we left there, I felt it was an agreement amongst everybody. We put that other third tier in, and it seemed to alleviate the heartburn, if you so will.
Yeah.
Did I recap it effectively, Jeff?
You did, and just to give my input real quick, the mayor kind of led the way in bringing everybody together. They made some adjustments to the Royal rates. They're going to be really sound. I know there was some concern about the $25 rate. Those are only on large event, non-Royal events, and they're only for the VIP parking lots, which fill up immediately. We're going to continue to work with the authority. I know the mayor is probably going to meet with both authorities on an ongoing basis as they continue to collaborate. I think they got a lot done in a short amount of time, honestly, in that sector. And I think working together on a continuous basis is going to help that. So I'm very comfortable where that's heading personally. Council, I mean, if you have questions now, we can certainly ask them, or we can do some follow-up questions with Nathan and Tim as well on that rate structure. But I would tell you that I felt that after that meeting, I would always prefer a little lower, but we're not, as Tim pointed out to me, we're not solving any X. Those lots are filling up. People come in with 5 people in a car to the, to the Glen Campbell. Glen Campbell's not around anymore, but to whatever concert, they don't mind paying $25. They're 3 feet away from the door, and that's what they're willing to pay. Others are paying $10 and walking 3 blocks, and they're fine with that. So we may make some small calibrations along the way, but I think they've solved most of that issue. Are there any questions on that before we walk into parking fine rates?
And Jeff, just to be clear, our website is up to date. It has everything updated, all 3 categories, and those 2 concessions on the Royals pricing, those 2 small adjustments.
Okay,
so everything up to date.
Yeah, and one of the things that, before you go, Donna, and I want everybody to use the chat, but this third category that Tim spoke to, local basketball playoffs, et cetera, a very reduced rate. So we're not up against, a $12 parking fee for a $5 basketball ticket. So they're working on all that. Donna, go ahead. I do want to encourage everyone to use the chat though.
Just quickly, because I have to step away. Am I understanding there still will be a $25 area or a $25 fee for some events for proximity sake? Is that clear? And what will they strictly be concerts?
Yes, Donna. So here's some of the concern. So some of the concern is we have to service more than just the Royals, more than just the events at the arena. We have to service the hotel also, but not just that. One of the things that's been a hot topic is wait times. Well, if everyone parks in the same garage, no matter how fast we can get you out, which will get you out in 12 seconds, everyone can't occupy the same 12 seconds, and it takes over 2.5 hours to empty a garage that's completely full. So the only way to push people around to other garages is to have a variable rate structure and convenience-based parking. Some people don't mind paying $25 to park right out front. You know, they're short on time, or they just want to be right out front. Some people want to spend, $6 and want to park at, 6th and Cherry Lot. But to be one of the other byproducts that is moving people around to keep that wait time coming out of the garage down as low as we can. And we have that at 12 seconds right now. And even after we put the gateless system in, which is coming very, very soon, it's in beta testing for us right now, it's still going to be 6 seconds to get a car out without taking any other, there's no payments, there's nothing, everything will be done by a gateless system. That is one of the reasons we also have the variable rate structure. So I just want to clarify, it isn't just revenue, it's also to kind of push behavior.
And Donna, to Tim's point, it's just for those non-Royals, local events, the major concerts where you're going to see that, which, it makes sense in those situations. And like they told us, those lots are filling up almost instantly. Because people,
And Council President, if I may,
yeah.
I think it's also key that they're going to be identified as VIP parking lots. And there's only 2 of those. It's only the DoubleTree and the State Lot right across the street. Like any other major city that I currently attend, or any city that I attend, the closer you get to a venue, the higher the prices go. So, I think it's in that formality that we see in it, in addition to everything else that was already mentioned.
Okay, and Marcia's next, just to keep things.
Yeah, and I want to keep things moving along because I appreciate the dialogue that occurred. I wish it could have happened, but you can't go back in time. I understand how you're doing the tiered rates because that is done in other municipalities, but how do people know that? If you're I'm going to park depending on what it's going to cost me. But if you're not coming from Reading, the most quickest way is to come up Penn Street and to hit that first garage. What are you going to be doing to inform the public about the different rates and how you're going to work with the Civic Center Authority, since they're the promoters of the events, to be able to ensure that there's clear communication, people make their choices, just like you make a choice how close you sit to the stage when you're buying a ticket, how close do you want to park and how much do you want to pay?
Yeah, no, Marcia, outside each garage, and what we've typically seen and what I've seen coming into the garage to parking, most people actually end up going up Franklin Street and they hit those other garages first before they would even see Penn Street. They don't know it exists.
Yeah.
So the flow of traffic seems to take everyone up Franklin.
So they go
And there's
into
big signs of,
okay.
what's that?
Okay, yeah, and I think it will be interesting just to look at the trends and what we see and, how the rate impacts. Did you have a discussion with Mike Ellerman and company about where you're going with this then?
Yeah, they were, as Jeff alluded to, the very first thing we talked about was we met with them immediately after they brought the concern. We met with them Friday, and
Right.
we thought it was fruitful, productive, and we seemed to get to an end game pretty quickly. They were, from what I understand, very happy with the results based on the follow-up email, and as were we. So, we not every idea we're going to have is going to be the best idea, but we're going to be fast, quick to resolve any issues that are within our control and make adjustments. I mean, I'm a business person first, right? At the end of the day, we want to make everyone happy.
Thank you.
Yeah, by the way, I was the only one scolded in the meeting by the mayor, so.
What did you do wrong? No, I'm sorry, I'm out of
Oh,
turn.
I couldn't do no right, so.
Don't ask.
Yeah. All right, guys. I know Johanny's a little tied up on this call. I wanted to go over these rates, but let's come back to those.
Jeff.
Yeah, go
Jeff.
ahead, Nathan. Yep.
Hey, just a quick follow-up with Marcia, right? So, to answer your question, outside of every garage, whenever there's an event, we have a big sandwich board. It's a 4-foot by 2.5-foot board, bright sign, and it says the rate right on it outside of every garage. We've also, everything's posted on our website. It says exactly where the location is and exactly what the price is. We also give that information to the arena, and the arena can send that out. They have a follow-up email when somebody purchases a ticket. So we have always given that, and I'm not sure if they are still handing that out and emailing it so that everybody is aware of it, but it's definitely on our website, and it's very convenient for people to find if they look for it.
Yeah, and Nathan, I think you said you're gonna even try to make those VIP like lots even more pronounced, you know, these are the super VIP,
Yes.
right? So when
Yep.
people see them, they'll know that it's, you know, it is what it is. Yeah. Johanna is a little tied up, I think, at the moment, and I wanted her to be able to speak to these rates. We can come back to these parking fine rates another day unless she's available now, because let's go to the ordinances for now. Is it just one ordinance we have scheduled for next week, Linda?
Two.
Two, that's what I thought. Okay. All right. So Nathan, Tim, you guys have had a chance to look at them. Please direct your concerns to us so the body can
So
address.
I'll go first, Nate, just I'm a little tight on time.
Okay, go
My
ahead.
I have two brief concerns. One around the Saturday enforcement. Now, from an operational budget standpoint for the parking authority, it's meaningless to us whether we do or don't enforce it. It's not something that's going to affect our bottom line tremendously. But what we found is we're getting less complaints from downtown businesses on parking. Everyone has to be mindful that there's a cause and effect. If we take away enforcement in our downtown for Saturday parking, that means most of these buildings have residents attached from upstairs, there's apartments around. There's going to be no parking for the downtown businesses to have their patrons visit to pick up food or whatever it may be. That's my only concern. My concern would be we solved a problem from a standpoint of turnover for the local businesses, and that's really what we're trying to serve in the downtown, is to make that viable for everyone and convenient for everyone. If we take Saturday enforcement away, the residents that are maybe upstairs that have the ability to park at any one of the garages at a very, very reduced residential rate will clog up the downtown spaces, and then we're going to be dealing with a massive double parking issue. And that's my main concern on that one. Feel free to, discuss, ask any questions. I mean, we tried this before. We really aren't trying to extract dollars from anybody. We're really trying to solve problems. Like I said, the revenue attached to it is pretty much meaningless to us. I don't have a dog in the fight, so I don't care. I just want to make sure everyone understands that it could really impact the downtown business in a negative way, and also a frustrating double parking issue, which is something we all hate.
Yeah, Tim and Nathan, is there an in-between? Because, I think I mentioned to you guys if we did it to like 3 or 4 on a Saturday, is that just?
We're open to anything.
But is there even any value in it? Is it just a feel-good thing on my part? I mean, does it make?
I think it's a feel-good thing in your part, but I would talk to the businesses downtown. I mean, this really isn't a parking authority question. This is really how do we service the downtown businesses? And if they say it doesn't matter, we're in. We don't care. I don't think that's the answer you're going to get based on our previous interactions with them since I've been there. But we'll certainly do whatever at the direction of City Council and or the mayor. We don't have a dog in the fight. I really think it's a downtown business question more so than a parking authority question.
So council, I'm hearing from the parking authority, they're okay with the proposed ordinances, except for the kind of taking away the Saturday enforcement. Comments, questions about that? Anybody? The chat board's not lighting up here. Geez, I thought this chat board would be lighting up. Nobody wants to
I must be a
talk.
good explainer. I must be an effective communicator.
Yeah. All right, Marcia, go ahead.
I was looking for the hand and I can't find it.
You gotta just say I'm next in the chat, Mayor. Marcia's up and then you're next, okay?
Yeah, I'm an expert at using the chat box, but that's another whole story. So I understand what your rationale is, and I think my biggest concern more had to do with right around the Performing Arts Center for those several blocks. Okay, and I saw that there was some information put out in the Reading Eagle regarding that. Does this impact on that decision?
We've been tossing that around for a while, Marcia. So when we talked about doing on-street meter parking for events, we looked at it as a revenue source that we thought would make sense. When we factored in how much time we spent in overtime and also, the complaint factor around it, it actually didn't even cash flow for us. So it was an operational issue for us when you figure out the capital expense for overtime for employees, and honestly, the aggravation all around, asking employees to work overtime you know, and the barrage of confusion around it, it just really wasn't worth something for us. So on-street meter parking for events doesn't exist anymore,
Okay.
as far as at a rate structure at the event rate pricing.
Yeah, and as far as the other question, I would rather defer to Johanna since it is in her district. And, you know, I understand your rationale for, you know, where you're going. So I think we need to weigh all those factors in and we can decide what we need to do moving forward with that particular ordinance.
Okay, I have the mayor for a brief comment and then Bree is next after the mayor.
So I just don't want to sound redundant. I think I shared this in the past and just want to tap into what Tim was saying. That many of the conversations of lately has been directed in downtown. We need a vibrant downtown. We need more activity. We need more fun-filled activities and businesses opening up in the downtown area, which I am hopeful that at least in my time, I get to see a lot of that happening. With that comes, again, a need for turnaround of parking like any other city. I go to any other city, and some of them are 7 days a week in a vibrant downtown or main corridor. I would never suggest a 7-day here, so don't get any ideas. But again, the rationale for the Saturdays that is for the turnaround of parking ability for the businesses, especially if we want to promote additional and attract additional businesses in downtown.
Thank you, Mayor. Bree, the floor is yours.
So I just want to point out, first I want to say thank you to the two gentlemen who have explained this, have taken time out of their day to sit here and explain what's going on with the parking authority. You know, I'm not really a big fan of the parking authority. I don't think any resident is a fan of the parking authority. However, you know, culture changes before policy. So when the mayor says that we want a vibrant downtown, we're trying to not improve, but expand the culture of Reading and what Reading is really all about. And I just want to reiterate that we should have some transparency that when it comes to the Reading Parking Authority. And I see your website, and I'll give you guys credit because I see the website and it is very easy to navigate. You know, for me, I find that it's easy to navigate. The information is there. I wish more businesses and other departments had such transparency that you guys have with regards to Reading government. But yeah, I just want to encourage you guys to continue with that transparency and also remember the culture and the actual people who live in Reading, and let us not rush these people, right? Let's not rush the people in our community. They're still community members, you know, and let's make sure that we're providing them with and keeping them up to date with what's going on with the city.
All right, thank you, Bree. Okay, guys, I'm going to defer. If there's no other comments, I'm going to defer. We're going to regroup on the rates issue, guys. I want Johanna to be a little more present for that discussion, and I think we made some headway here. I'm not hearing opposition to keeping Saturday on. We'll see where it ends up next week, guys. I think to the mayor's point, to Marcia's point, I mean, and to your point, I think cutting out that evening enforcement is going to be a big help. That's been the real big deterrent. Like everything else you're doing that we're trying to do with you, we can measure it as we go. And if we have to make adjustments, we can do that. And, you know, so I'll probably support the Saturday as well. So I don't have any final comments, Nathan or Tim. And we'll reschedule the
No.
meeting soon.
Yeah, just one more around the parking ordinance as far as the opposite direction enforcement.
Right.
So the only thing I would say is it's very arbitrary. One, Nathan, you have the numbers there. How many people have actually been cited or something like that in the last year?
So it was actually changed last year over to the public safety classification. So it's actually at the higher rate, Tim, because what was happening is people are pulling in and they're pulling in the opposite direction, and they actually can't see then to pull back out because they're curbside instead of being street side. So
yeah, so So my issue isn't necessarily, is it safe? Is it not safe? I guess my issue around resolutions, I would just want some clarity as far as what's considered inclement weather or bad weather, right? Is it going to be rain? Is it going to be snow? Is it going to be wind? And who's going to make that decision and who's going to tell us, right? So since I've been there, and Nathan will tell you, and if you listen to any of my board meetings, I hate enforcement. I don't want to be in a rabbit wheel where we're enforcing the unenforceable, right? There's certain neighborhoods we have 20 parking spaces and 30 houses, and that's not fair to the citizens, right? That's not what we're there for. So we've been very, very cognizant of that, and we only enforce safety-related items. And I can tell you guys, anytime one of you would share a concern and say this person, they were treated unfairly, I could provide you a photo of the craziness that goes on sometimes. So I would just caution you to have an ordinance that's arbitrary. I'm fine with it because there's no revenue attached. Just know it's a safety issue.
Yeah, Tim, but it sounds like we could possibly improve it. We put it out there. So let's do this in a month. Let's regroup on the rate, the fine discussion, and let's talk about that ordinance and see if there's a way you feel we could improve it or modify it.
Yeah, I mean, it could be at the declaration of a snow emergency, because there are neighborhoods that are, parking downhill will become unsafe in bad weather.
No,
we
I
know
agree.
that. We're not crazy.
Yeah, I don't want to get into it tonight, but I agree we should go deeper. That sounds like a good suggestion, actually. So Linda, let's get it back on the committee of the whole. We'll come back over the fine rates and we'll talk about that, directional parking issue in inclement weather. I do think it needs a little more discussion. Just the fact they're bringing it up, which is great. That's why we're here to calibrate as we need to. Marcia, you have your hand down. Jesus. Okay.
Well, I'm trying to follow the rules.
That's the with me.
Thank you I think we can have further discussion. I've never learned to master parking, the direction of traffic in the bad weather on the steep hills.
No, you're right, Marcia. It's true. That's, and no one's been fined for that. And if they have, it was because they parked at the corner and no one could make the turn. It was never for in directional. At least I was assured it was, and now I can't speak for anything that involves humans, right? Humans touching something can create some error, and I'm not saying we're perfect, but if anyone will bring any of those citations they were cited for to appeal, it will be thrown out immediately. We're not there to do things that are just silly. So I won't let anything silly happen as long as I'm sitting as the chair.
Thank you.
All right, Tim, appreciate it. Nathan, we appreciate it. Thank you guys for your time this evening. Very important update. We look forward to next Monday's votes and continue working together with your team, with Eddie's team as well. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank
See you later.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, council, we're going to move on because we have a pretty thorough agenda here. Council staff oversight policy. I don't know who's prepared to speak to that. I know the committee's been working on, am I talking about the right thing here, Kansas? Yeah, right. Mike, did you want to speak to that?
Sure. Yeah, just a brief update. The committee did meet approximately 2 weeks ago, reviewed a proposed policy. Goal is to mirror as best as possible what the city is doing with the rest of its employees and personnel. So there's consistency there. We do have a few minor modifications to make before we're ready to present it to all of council for review, but should have that within the next week or so.
Okay, and that's perfect. We don't, there's no deadline. We want to just keep moving it along. If we had this thing done by mid-May, I'd be happy, quite honestly. Not that it has to take that long. So anybody have any comments or thoughts on that? Again, that committee is working on policy so that we can continuously assess, evaluate council staff, and, make recommendations, et cetera, regarding salaries and career paths, et cetera. So it's an important piece since they do have a kind of direct report to us. And it's not something the council president can do on his own. There's just no way. So we'll be in a lot of trouble, trust me. All right, so good. Thank you, Mike, for that update. I think Frank has an update on us on, we don't have to go through every document, Frank, but we're going to cover them at a high level and council may have some questions. I'm surprised we were able to pull this together rather quickly. So if we trip up a little bit, we can always come back with some updates, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to turn over the floor to Frank regarding city's performance evaluation policy and salary study. So go ahead, Frank.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. Also joining me this evening will be Holly Golden, who's our interim HR director. She's also going to be present to assist with the presentation. So as the Council President suggested, it will be a brief PowerPoint presentation. I did send about 4 related documents. I don't need to go over those in detail. They're just support items that back up the presentation. So I'll start off with the presentation. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's see here, get the right PowerPoint.
While you're doing that, thank you, Holly, for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Okay, I'm assuming everybody sees what I see, right? Everybody sees the PowerPoint? Okay, great. Just a quick note, if my voice sounds a little bit different, I had some dental work this morning. I didn't realize they were going to Novocaine my whole mouth and stuff, so it's still a little bit numb different places. So if I'm slurring my voice a little bit, it's because of the dental work this morning. So, okay, so this evening we're talking about the city's performance evaluation policy and salary study update. So we go to the second slide. So before we get into what the city is doing, Chapter 70 of the Personnel Code in the ordinances talk about what's required from the city administration when we talk about performance evaluation. So I'm not going to go read through all that stuff because our plan addresses all those items, but just one highlight here, and I'll just quote the first bullet point. All employees shall have an annual written performance evaluation conducted by the immediate supervisor and department director. And then in this, all these bullet points, it talks about how the evaluation is to be performed and those types of things, which we've already adopted. The third slide here is what we call the Performance Review Plan, PRP. This is the City of Reading's Performance Review Plan, and it's designed as an ongoing communication process between and among managers, supervisors, and employees. The purpose of this PRP is to foster professional development, career growth, and to assist in determination of merit increases. So we'll talk a little bit more about merit increases. But these performance reviews are an important part of that process. Just to kind of jump here into what the implementation schedule is this process, by the way, this process has been revised as of September 2021. So the HR staff provided a revised program because apparently a lot of evaluations and a program hasn't been in place since 2014. So it's been kind of a sporadic process up to this point, but the HR team spent time in the fall of 2021 to bring this process back in full swing, bring it up to date, and make it relevant for our workforce today. So basically what happens is, and these are the supporting documents I've already sent to everybody, August of the year, the supervisors will send a self-evaluation form to the employee. So in August, the employee actually fills out a self-evaluation form. And that's an important part of this process because we got to make sure there's not a disconnect between what the employee thinks they're doing and from what the supervisor thinks what's going on. So the process starts with evaluation, self-evaluation, and then in September, the supervisor will set up an appointment with the employee to go over the self-evaluation. In October, November, the supervisor will actually conduct a performance evaluation with the employee. And when that process is complete, the management will meet with, if they have a department director above them, we'll go over those evaluations. And then these evaluations will be going over with HR staff to make sure if there's any necessary follow-up, if there are any red flags. And what's important too is to gauge a general condition of where the workforce is, so we could determine at that time if we need maybe some specialized training in a particular item. And what I'll do is I'm going to stop share for a second because I just want to jump, just so you see this here. How do we see this here? Hold on. I don't just jump here for a second. I just want to share just quickly. It's the only document I'm going to share because the rest of them, like I said, sent. I just want the audience to see. This is the evaluation form. This is the updated annual performance review that the staff worked in September. So there's a lot of different categories here. You see the employee rating, the manager rating. So this is from the self evaluation. This is what the manager rates. So if you see a huge gap or difference, that's something we have to look further into. But you can see all the different, job performance, strengths, challenges, relationships, how we communicate. It's a very, very thorough, up-to-date type of evaluation. See, the managers put some recommendations here. The employee puts their strengths and challenges. So this is not meant to be anything punitive. It's for employee growth, and also to identify maybe some issues that need to be worked on before they become a bigger problem. So just wanted to share that. So I'll stop sharing, and then I'm going to finish up the presentation here. Almost done. Okay. Here we go. Okay, so that gives you a sense, and this has just been implemented for 2022. The department directors will get a presentation sometime this month when we have a directors meeting. So they're going to be all brought to speed on how this process works. There's been a memo that already went out, but we're going to get in a lot more detail with this at a directors meeting. And of course, evaluations isn't something that just happens at the end of the year. We have continuous employee communication. So for most of our employees that are part of a collective bargaining unit, supervisors will have an informal conversation quarterly with the employee. It's a great time for the supervisor to check in with the employee just for some informal conversation. If you're a management employee, your department director will have one with you monthly with the employee. And in my case, I currently oversee the department directors. I meet with them twice a month on a one-on-one basis. So that will give me an opportunity at that time to provide any feedback and also get feedback from the director themselves. So we jump here. While this isn't completely part of the presentation, but promotion procedure, I think this was brought up in previous inquiries. Certainly, our promotions are based on the best and most qualified applicant. So anytime there's a vacancy in a position that's non-union, it doesn't require to be bidded on, or it's a union job that was nobody decided to bid on it, we do put a notice of vacancy and we do post it internally for 7 days. And we explain in detail what the position is. And we do have a process that applications will be reviewed, and the most qualified applicants will be interviewed by the human resources director or his or her designee and review team that HR puts together. So just wanted to add that. That's part of our process here, the promotion process. And salary increases. Well, as you can see here, our salary increases for the most part are actually guided by the most recent ordinance change in 2015. The city administration has a cap of 3% that they can give, or merit increases for city employees that are not part of the collective bargaining unit. And anything over 3% has to have city council's approval. So there's already checks and balances built into that. Certainly any increases that we do recommend are based on if there's increased job responsibilities and merit increase, because we are a merit-based personnel system. So in order to follow through with the merit-based concept, that's why we have a very robust performance evaluation program put into place, because that's going to be a real data point and a real to help us, in determination of that. And lastly, the question was asked about what are we doing about salary rate study? Well, there's a couple different ways we're going about it. We're currently working with AFSCME, the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees. There's 2 collective bargaining units. One is rank and file, and one is first level. We meet with them on a regular basis. And currently we're going through job descriptions. And if there's disparity in pay or some confusion with jobs, we're trying to create a uniform process. And we're making sure that all the rank and file positions, that the job descriptions are lined up to the salaries, and there's a consistent uniformity. And so we're working on that kind of informal process. But what we would like to do is negotiate with all our collective bargaining units to fund a job salary study. But that all the collective bargaining units are up for renewal for next year. So when we negotiate our collective bargaining agreement, we like to share the cost of a more detailed salary study. And lastly, we're going to have an internal review team to review management job descriptions and take a look at what the regional salary rates are for similar positions. And if the review team comes up with any recommendations, we will make them to city council before the 2023 budget process. So if there's some recommendations that changes amounts of money or funds allocated, we will do that before the 2023 budget process. So I hope that answers, and took a little longer than I thought, but I hope that answers some of the questions. I did also, in the related documents, just for those who didn't get opportunity to see them yet, there's a copy of the employee self-evaluation. I also have instruction manual for supervisors on how to do evaluations. And then there's another sheet that talks about defining the job performance factors. It kind of builds that out better for a person who's doing the evaluation. So those are all our support documents that we provide our supervisors and employees. So there's a clear direction on expectations. So, and lastly, the city administration is committed to quality improvement of all its city services. And our performance review plan emphasizes the empowerment of employees for continuous quality improvement. So that concludes the presentation. I'm here open for questions. Holly here, Holly, who does the work every day in HR, is here to help support, answer any questions, or she can add anything that I might have missed. So that's where we're at.
Okay,
I'll stop sharing here.
thank you, Frank. Holly, did anything you wanted to add at this point?
No.
Okay. All right, great. Council, questions, comments? Anyone, please use chat if you can. Let me know. If not, I think Frank, I know Johanny might have some follow-up questions. We'll ask her to review the documents in the meeting, and if we need to regroup, we could certainly follow up with questions. We appreciate. Sounds like I got a lot of good work being attempted to put to work. I know from my experience, employee performances are really artwork, and they're, you can really trip over them. I remember when I was young in my career, they just never wanted to evaluate me. I just was so sensitive to some stuff, I felt like I did everything, but the one or two things I did wrong. And what about the organization and blah, blah, I'm not a quiet guy. You knew that when you hired me, it's just the whole kind. So it's just, everybody's different. So it's hard. People are sensitive, and their job's important to them. Some people think they're doing a great job, and maybe 99% of the time they are, and the little things are burping things, but it's important to have structure, because I think people like the idea of additional training. They like the idea of a career path, not only, a fair assessment too, something that's fair. And I think it's always important to, be able, when you're being appraised by the company, to also give your feedback to the company and present that opportunity. What could be better in the workspace? What concerns you about us? I used to work with interns, and I told them when they went on job interviews, you're there to interview the company too. Find out, is a loud guy like me going to work, right? In your company, I talk a lot. I want to make people laugh. Nah, Jeff, we're not interested. Well, that's good. Then I know, so it's just important. People skills are important. And the stronger that you guys can make all that work, Frank and Holly, the better the city operations will be. I think we have two questions. Maria Rodriguez first, and then that's it. Go ahead, Maria. You have a comment?
Thank you, Jeff. The question that I'm going to ask, and this is in the handbook of the city employee, since it is not mandated by the charter anymore, the director had to live in the city. In the handbook, stating that directors are entitled to like up to $5,000, I believe, for moving expenses and stuff like that. That's going to be continued. How that's going to play out moving forward, since this is not a requirement for director to live in the city anymore.
That's a good question. First of all, the handbook is in the process of being updated. It is outdated, unfortunately. And then when the handbook is completed, it will be brought to council. In fact, I think, and I'll defer to legal, but it may have to even be approved by council or some kind of ratification. But to answer your question, we have to take a look on the validity of that current policy to see if something we need to do to rescind it. So that's something we can follow up with you on. And I do understand the purpose of that policy was because of the residency requirement. Because we don't have it anymore, it doesn't fit into why would we pay for moving expenses when you're not required to live here. So point well taken. I can get an answer for you on what we need to do to discontinue that policy. You know, do we just ignore it? Do we have to rescind it? I need to find out legally how to end that policy. But I will have a written response for you as soon as I can.
Yeah, thank you, Frank. And the reason that I ask in the question is because since I review payroll, you know, and that's coming across, I just want to make sure if it is okay, fine. It's not, you know. So I just asking the question because of that. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, I don't see anybody else queued up here to speak. So thank you, Frank and Holly, for that update. We appreciate it. Again, I think Johanny may have some follow-up questions, and that's okay. That's a great overview, and thank you for providing the documents. You know, just look forward to any future questions. All right, Council, we're going to move on to the next item. We're going to go into public safety reports. Fire Marshal update on inspections completed and emergency management and police and fire accomplishments. I don't know if we have specifics on those or if anybody's prepared to speak to those, but I'll turn it over to Fire Chief first for any updates he feels he needs to present. And again, these are just update periods, Chief. I mean, there's no sound requirements. We're just trying to stay in tune, make sure we're aware of your needs and whatever's going on.
Yeah, and that's what I assumed you were looking for with this report. If I could share my screen, I think it may be a short overview of how the department operates for the newer council people might help provide an understanding. Then I could step through this report. Let's see here. I'm not the greatest when it comes to this technology. I'm not as sharp as you, Council President.
You're much sharper than me. Are you kidding?
Let me see here.
I just figured out the chat.
Yeah, let me see. How's that go? Let's see here. Yeah, I'm getting this. Oh, there we go. That 22. Here we go. Council reports here. Here's our organizational chart. Maybe this will provide an understanding for the newer members. Can everybody see this?
Yeah, it's a little hard to read, but yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. I'll tell you what, if I blow it up a little, maybe that'll help. Just to provide an understanding, as you went through the budget process, the department's divided into 5 different divisions. The administrative division would include myself here, the administrative officer, the secretary, but it also includes our 4 first deputy chiefs and the EMS deputy, although they're also carried under the suppression and the EMS division. Anyways, the administration division pretty much works out of the office here and handles the day-to-day functions with budget, things along that line. Then if you look over here, this on the left column would be the Fire Prevention Division, which is headed by the Fire Marshal Jeremy Searfoss. He has 3 lieutenants under him. They're responsible for working with our Building and Trades Department along with PMI, doing some inspections. They also do the investigation of fires and structures and such. Also, help, like I said, with the code enforcement. That's just a quick summary of their duties. Our biggest division here are the prevention guys. They work a Monday to Friday schedule and all, from basically 8 to 5, 8 to 4:30 on a Friday. Our suppression division here is the largest. These are the guys that go out to the fire calls. Each of them has we're divided into 4 platoons here, the A, B, C, and D platoons. They're headed by a first deputy chief, which is at management level. Everybody below here is bargaining unit. There's a second deputy chief on each platoon and a lieutenant, only one lieutenant who's assigned to the rescue truck. They operate In the suppression here, we operate with 5 engines, which are pumpers, 3 ladder companies, and a rescue company. They're spread out among the 6 fire stations throughout the city. Again, and they're manned 24/7 by each of these platoons through a rotation. And then if you look at our EMS division, the EMS Deputy Chief Sninsky, he works a Monday to Friday schedule. But everybody under him is assigned to the same platoons as like the suppression divisions to maintain the 24/7 coverage. They man four ambulances that are manned by 2 paramedic each for the most, 2 paramedics on each one, depending on the availability. If not, it could be a paramedic and a EMT assigned to the units.
Hey, Chief,
Okay.
I think we're looking at your email screen. I don't know if we're able to see.
Really?
Yeah, I just.
Yeah.
It didn't change.
Wonder I couldn't see it. Yeah, no. it
I
didn't-
don't know why it comes up in front of me, the org chart. Okay, let me back up here. All right, let me minimize that and go.
Jeff,
to-
can I make a suggestion, please?
Sure.
Okay, so Chief, when you go on to, you will have a couple screens to look at. You have to click on and highlight the screen that you want to share and then press share, and that will bring up the right screen.
All right, let me go back here and try that here. I
Yeah,
thought
it's
I
a
had
little
that.
tricky.
Are these numbers available?
Is that up now?
Now you need to share. Just click
Now we
on
need
share.
to share. I'm not finding the share in there.
It's usually on the bottom right-hand side. It's usually on red, in red,
Yep, I don't have it. Let me,
or it may be at the bottom bar. Depends on how you have your layout. What you sometimes have to do is bring your cursor all the way down and then it pops up.
how about now?
Yeah, yeah, you got it. All
There you
right.
go.
All
I told you,
right.
I'm not as good as the council president with this stuff.
I don't even know where to find that. So real quickly, Bree, did you have a quick question? I just wanted to make sure I acknowledged you.
Only that I thought that this was available to us somewhere. No.
Okay, Bree, thank you.
Okay, just winding down then, like I said, the EMS units, there's 4 ambulances, 24/7. They work the same schedule, the platoon schedule. As you can see here, there's an A platoon. It has 4 ambulances. The A, B, C, and D, they match up, work the same schedules as the fire units. And then our last division is the training division. There's a lieutenant that oversees that. He works a Monday to Friday schedule. So with that, that's pretty much just an overview of the operations. If I could step through the report that I provided here. Let me see here. Stop sharing that. And if I can go to the report that I provided to you.
And that's attached to the agenda as well.
Okay, how about? Here's that. Is that sharing now with that?
Yep.
Yep.
you got
Okay,
it.
yeah, so there, the brief report, I just based it on what I thought that you might be looking for, some information for this report. Now we're going with the stats and all be from January, because as we go forward till we catch up, like you want this on the Wednesday prior to the first meeting of the month. So like when it comes to the April 4th meeting, we'll have to get that to Linda by the 30th, and the March numbers won't be done. So I'm backing up to January here, and then for the April meeting, you'll get February stuff. So just to step through this, the accomplishments, if you recall back at the November 29th, we made our pitch to you about proceeding forward with a SAFER grant when the period opened up there during December and January. We were able to put that, after talking with Abe, getting Abe's approval. I believe Abe had a meeting We provided you a copy of the PowerPoint after our presentation, and Abe met with, I believe, the council president, then later to have further conversations on it. He gave us the approval then to move forward with applying to FEMA for the grant then. So that was submitted during the month of January. Ongoing projects, site works moving forward, they had footers down. They're also starting some block work. I'll see if I can bring that picture up when I'm done here. Did that get attached to that might have been attached to this report as well.
Yeah, it was attached to the email, but it was too large in size to attach to the
Okay.
agenda.
Yeah, so that's moving forward here. I'll see if I can bring that up quick then, just to show you where that stands. As you look at our responses during the month of January, 1,751 total incidents responded to by the EMS unit, 1,669 were by our units, 82 were by the mutual aid units coming in. I know this is a big one. Councilwoman Goodman Hintershitz always asked a lot about the opioid and naloxone events. There were 27 of them during that month, during the month of January. Our fire apparatus responded to a total of 564 incidents. I don't know what, did I do something here? Oh, there it is. It's okay. So below is a list. It was a busy month as far as working fires. A working fire basically will be something where the units pull up, have smoke or fire showing from the building, and there's a need to stretch a line in. The incident has the potential to escalate beyond that. So this is just a brief overview. On the 5th of January, 521 South 18th Street at 0208 hours in the morning, there was fire on the 3rd floor. That was brought under control within 20 minutes there. The 701 Walnut started, that's the four-story furniture warehouse there. So it came in as a fire alarm where the smoke detection system did its job. Units got there early, although it took a while to locate to see the fire because it was under multiple layers of flooring and in a void space. It took them roughly a little over an hour to get it under control, make sure it wasn't extending beyond that. Wednesday the 12th, kitchen fire at 515 Elm, brought under control within a couple of minutes. 406 South 519th, 2nd floor bedroom fire, brought under control quick. You'll see on the 24th, Monday the 24th at 2:49 in the morning, small basement fire at 120 West Elm. Took about 20 minutes there, 15 minutes to get under control. Wednesday, 126 Schuylkill 424 Schuylkill Avenue at 1400 in the afternoon. It was a basement fire. It was one minor civilian injury at that one. Where are we going? The same day, a little later in the afternoon, 2nd floor fire out at 1514 North 11th, under control within, what are we, about 15 minutes there, no injuries. Let's see, the 29th, 661 North 11th at 22:33 hours at night, 2nd floor rear. It took them a little bit, about 40 minutes, I guess, here. Where are we at? 22:33. So yeah, to get under control, there was one minor civilian injury that was transported to the hospital. And as we look at the Sunday the 30th, small fire on the 3rd floor of 1323 Locust there, no injuries. The Office of the Fire Marshal, you asked about inspections and all. Health and safety inspections that were done in January and February, they assisted on a total of 33 of them. What you'll see there is during the time City Hall was closed, there were no inspections scheduled due to COVID. They also do permit inspections of fire alarms, sprinkler system, fire pumps, did 8 of them. Construction meetings tied to sprinkler issues along with trades, they did 11 of them. Permits issued for fire alarm, sprinkler systems, fire pumps. When you talk about the ER, CES These permits all in total were 25. The CES are for emergency responder coverage enhancement systems. That's these biodirectional amplification systems that are in some of these larger buildings where there's radio communication problems throughout. So they also do a lot of that. Inspect them system. As far as just an update to the emergency management coordinators, this Fire Marshal Searfoss, this is double duty that they do. They continue to monitor the COVID numbers and provide guidance, as you are well aware of, and to council, to the administration, to the department, and provide PPE to the departments as needed. I think you're aware of the guidelines and the updates that they did for that. Let's see, training division. Again, the entire department has received their CPR refresher training during January. If you recall, the new Lucas mechanical CPR devices that were purchased, they were trained on them during that month. They're now on the department ambulances. I think that pretty much provides somewhat of an update of everything. Let me see if I could bring up that. Let me back down here, see what I could bring up if this view comes up of the site there.
Chief, while you're doing that, Bree was inquiring about smoke detectors, the availability to residents. Can you-
Chief, I just shared it.
Oh, you did share it? Okay, good. There you go. So that just brings up where the site is going forward here. There's movement there. You'll see in the bottom lower hand corner, the footers were poured at that point. I think that was taken Friday, that picture. You'll see there were footers poured there, and then the cement block has since been going up, and then it'll go around the edges here. As far as the smoke detector, yes, if you go on the program, there's a operation, God, I can't put the name right now, but we do have a program, Operation Life Safety. It's on the department's website that you could apply for them there. We'll go out and do smoke detector installations in the
My question,
owner occupied structure, single family dwellings. Anything beyond that, rental units and all is going to be on the owner to supply detectors in that. But the application's available on the site. It's administrated by the fire marshal's office, whereas they'll schedule, and then the suppression units will go out and do the actual installations then. Does that answer her question?
I think Bree has a question. Go ahead, Bree.
that answers my question. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. All right. Great. Let me see anything else. Partner with the American Red Cross, I don't know which targets here managed out and receive cover about 100 homes. Oh, okay. So Christian put a little note out there. All right. Thank you. All right. Any comments or questions for the chief? We appreciate the update. Marcia, you got your hand up? You got your chat up.
My mute. I know, lots of things going on. So my question is, and I've noticed over the years, Chief, in the area I live in, and there was just a unfortunate fire on Cotton Street probably about 2 weeks ago, where the building's going to be condemned. I guess it's going to have to be demolished. But I see more and more buildings that have had fires that are left abandoned, and it's really starting to impact on, even if, and I think Jeff can attest to this, because he drives up and down Cotton Street. Even just on Cotton Street alone, it's become very disheartening. And I know that's another issue that we probably need to discuss another time, but it just seems like we've come to a standstill with a lot of these buildings and getting them repaired after fires.
I don't have the answer for that. I think a lot of it goes back to, they get placarded as inhabitable. That's done by building and trades and all.
Right.
The fire marshal's office. As far as follow up afterwards, I know the discussions went, and part of what you're talking about goes back to that whole escrow account issue,
Right.
where it's taken and then they just get left, and I don't have the answers there. I think that's where you ran into the issue of all them funds accumulating in them accounts because nobody followed through to get the work done.
Well,
And I
Marcia,
just would ask if we can revisit that, because it
Yeah.
really is very discouraging.
Linda, let's add that under the tail end of our May committee, the whole list, and we'll revisit it, give the chief some
Oh.
time and Damari.
One thing just to add on here, and I'll throw it out to you, is maybe Linda can add it to I know we'll be set to do this report and update on the 4th of April, I would assume. If it might be good at that point and I did reach out to our emergency management coordinator for him to come on along and he can provide maybe a 20-minute overview of their role, of what the role of the emergency management is. That would provide an understanding of the newer council people of their roles and what they do,
I mean, I'm fine with that. That sounds great. If we could set that up, I don't really know Wesley's schedule. I know he's a busy man. However, if you're okay with like just maybe a one-on-one with me, that would be good too.
Okay. So the chief was thinking of doing the meeting, but that's also something to consider, chief.
Yeah, well, I think it would be good for Wes as well and others to have a review. He could go over, there's online training that's available, through FEMA and all to get an understanding of that for elected officials as well.
Yeah.
So that might be something you could touch on at that meeting.
That's on the question for you. That's on the Reading website.
No, that training won't be available on that. If you would go on the Berks County DES website there under emergency management, and you could probably scroll through there and find the training that's available for local level and elected officials.
Yeah, Bree, I'll ask Linda to see if she can track it down and send it out to all of us.
There's a link to it. Got it. As long as you can point me in the right direction, I'm perfectly okay with that.
Oh, there it is. Christian just threw it up.
Yeah, good. Thank you.
All right, chief, thank you. We're gonna keep going here. Thank you for the report, and we're gonna just keep going. I don't think, Chief, I don't know if, Chief Tonelli, I don't know if you had any updates you wanted to provide. Just, again, 50,000 foot, any needs, anything going on that we're missing out on. I don't think we have to get into all the details of the operations at this point, but just an opportunity if there's something you needed to get to us.
Yes, sir. I just have a few updates for council on some recent activities with the police department. We recently held our written civil service test for entry-level police officers on February 26th. We had 60 candidates that passed the written test. They
See if you muted out somehow.
Somehow I got muted again. I'm sorry. We had our written civil service test on February 26th. 60 candidates moved on from the past and moved on to our PT test, our physical assessment, which will be on the 12th of March at Alvernia University. Also related to hiring promotions, our sergeant and lieutenant civil service promotional test will be on the 21st of May. That will be the written test. Candidates who pass the written test will move on to an interview, and then will be ranked once the list is certified by the Civil Service Board. Both of those lists, the promotional list, the sergeant and lieutenant's list, expire this summer. So we're trying to get ahead of that so we have current lists at all times. Recently, the police substation in Collegetown was completed, and our officers who work the Penn Street patrol detail will be working out of that office. Probably, I believe, next week they'll start working out of there if they haven't already. Our youth academy has been up and running since January. We have 20 cadets who are regularly attending all the training sessions. There are some more that come in and out, but we typically see at least 20 cadets at all the training sessions that happen every week. Huge help from the Isle of It Boys and Girls Clubs with getting that program off the ground and continuing to run to give some of the youth in our city an opportunity to see law enforcement in a different light and get them into a program after school. Our community response coordinator, Lieutenant Lewis, has been very, very busy. He's been doing programs at elementary schools. He recently spoke at the Kutztown Criminal Justice Club. He's been going out doing a lot of recruiting events in the city and outside of the city. Just last week, he provided 20 gun locks to the village of Reading in order for them to distribute at different events. He also did a public service announcement relative to robbery incidents that were taking place. Has attended a job fair at Penn State and with Human Resources, and he will be attending some more community events and organizing a Coffee with a Cop event in the coming weeks. So he's been pretty busy, and big shout out to Christian Crespo, who has helped Lieutenant Lewis out tremendously with getting information out on social media and setting up different programs. And finally, we made one change to the way we take internal affairs reports. So if an individual wants to report police misconduct or even simple courtesy issues, they feel like they weren't treated properly by a police officer. Typically, the process in place before was you had to phone into City Hall or come into City Hall to file that complaint with the officer of the day. We did some research. Our internal affairs lieutenant, Lieutenant Aaron Demko, did a lot of research into how different departments take complaints and found, not surprisingly, that individuals who have an issue with maybe an encounter with a police officer are not really willing to come in and speak to another police officer about it. So what we did was he created a written report form that are available at the desk. That an individual can come in, pick up the paperwork, fill it out, and then email it into internal affairs. That way there's no face-to-face interaction with another police officer. Because again, what we found through the research is that some folks are reluctant to come in and report that, obviously, if they had an issue. So that is in effect. And all of our complaints are now tracked in our benchmark system, which tracks our employee evaluations, use of force incidents, discipline, just about everything that we can document on one of our employees goes into this system. All those internal affairs complaints are going in there, so we have constant tracking as they move through the investigative stage. And again, that filters into what's called an early warning system in the software, that if it sees minor changes in conduct by an officer, a performance evaluation that went down, a minor misconduct issue, or a minor use of force issue, it'll flag that for us so that we can do some outreach to that individual and try to set them on the right path. But that's all I have right now. Just try to keep it brief and hit kind of the high points of what we've been up to the past couple of weeks.
Okay, thank you, Chief. That's a lot of good insights to what's going on. Sounds like a lot of good recruitment working out. So that's helpful as well. Council, any comments or questions at this point? If not, thank you, Chief, for the report. We don't want to hold you up too long, so thank you again for the insights. Bree, did you have a comment? I'm sorry.
Oh,
I heard your mic, that's all. It's okay.
I think you just heard my heavy breathing.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, Chief. Again, we're going to move on. We're going to delay some finance reports to April 4th next month. I don't know if there's some HR monthly reports that are going to be covered here this evening. I'll shoot to Frank to see where we're going with that. If we're not prepared, that's fine.
What we're doing is we're taking these reports and kind of creating them into presentations, but we certainly can provide. I have a lot of internal reports. Some has to be redacted, and I certainly can share some of that stuff in the future. But we're taking like some of the questions that are being asked out of the reports. Like next month, we like to talk about what are we doing to fill vacancies? Because I believe there was a question in one of the reports of how we fill vacant positions that are budgeted for. So we're prepared to do additional information, but I have no reports per se to share this evening.
All right, we'll defer to next month. And again, the executive summary formats are really great. I mean, especially in the finance reports, because we used to get these spreadsheets and I couldn't even see them. First of all, the numbers, there's so many numbers that could blow the body away. But when we get an executive summary, year to date, we're here, we're there, we're that, with this, 10 or 5 or 7 bullet points. It gives us the highlights, just like the Chiefs just did, I think that's sufficient. It just allows us to stay in tune. I remember one year on city council, we got to like budget season and we had to lay off 30 whatever firemen or And we were like, wow, we didn't know that.
Public Works.
Yeah, and so just allows us to stay in tune without getting too ingrained in holding you guys down either. So appreciate the update, but we'll defer that till next month, Frank. With that in mind, I think that was the last item on our agenda. Anything for public discussion this evening from a council member or the administration that we didn't get a chance to touch upon? Go ahead, Marcia.
And this is not city related, so take it from my heart and my concern to what's happening in Europe and to Ukraine. And I reached out to the mayor, and I'd like to reach out to council that I think we need to do something very symbolic to show our support for the country of Ukraine and its fighting for its democracy. One way would be to raise the flag, which we've done. Most of us are not of Ukrainian ethnicity, but I'm sure there are families within Reading. The other option would be to show Ukrainian lights. And I just want to put that out to the body. As I follow things that happen day to day, this reminds me very reminiscent of what happened at the beginning of our last World War, and it's just very disconcerting. So I want to show support. I know there was a service last night, which was well attended. So I think we just need to keep moving forward to get the message of our support.
All right, any other comments, anyone?
I second Marcia, and I think that we should show our support for the residents of Ukraine. I think that it's important that we have some, common humanity and decency among each other for people who are in need. I just wanted to, that's my piece.
Okay, great. We got, guys, we could do something ceremoniously next week during our official business meeting. It's something you might want to consider, whether it's a proclamation or a resolution, something somebody may want to consider. So you're lucky I'm not the president. I don't even want to go down that road. Don't even get me started. If I see another child wrapped in a blanket killed by these thugs, I don't know if I'll make it through the next meeting. But anyway, next Monday night, we're going back to live meetings, but they're going to be hybrid live meetings. So starting with our committee of the whole and council chambers, because the Penn Room is being utilized right now for some transitional stuff. We're going to stick to these hybrid live meetings for maybe 2 to 3 months. I talked to Wes a little earlier today, hoping the body will work, as we navigate through the next 2 to 3 months, work on a policy for how we conduct business moving forward. Looks like we will be allowed to do some hybrid capacity. So we'll bounce that off Mike along the way. And then as a body, we'll just establish the policy. And it does a couple of things that, for those who really don't want to be around a whole lot of people yet, it gives them a chance to step back, or those who are still busy, like Wes, that can still join in, for Zoom until we formalize something. And I'm thinking there's going to be something in the middle that works for everybody, as long as the body agrees to it. It's not my decision alone. So what I'm going to do next week, I think I told you guys earlier, between the committee, the whole meeting, I'm buying ice cream for everybody who's in the meeting. So,
Are you serious?
Yeah, we have the American Creamery coming. So,
oh, wow.
Public, I just hope there isn't why should be 600 people? Then I'll be charging it to what's that? Masano? No, I'm kidding. We'll figure it out. So, if you come to the meeting, you're getting free ice cream. So,
As long as I can pick the flavors, I'll pay.
no, I got it, Mike. You can't do that. All right, guys, if there's nothing else, we look forward to a productive week. We got some stuff to look forward from the administration this week relevant to this project. If we're going to consider a resolution, and I hope everybody has a good week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Where's my little leave the meeting thing?